Hi everyone. As you can see, not in the basement anymore. I'm in my room. So, anyway, I'm gonna review Fanboys, the movie Fanboys, starring Sam Huntington and Jay Baruchel, some other people. Pretty much, the story's about Star Wars. Super geeky Star Wars fans. It takes place in 1998, and they're super excited for Star Wars Episode 1, and one of them has cancer, played by Chris Marquette, and pretty much, they're gonna go to on a road trip to Skywalker Ranch, so they can get a print of Episode 1, so their friend can see it and they can see it as well. And it's pretty much a road trip movie. So I didn't like this movie. First of all, I didn't think it was really funny, and I didn't care for the characters. I mean, they just played, typical, geeky stereotypes, and they're really unlikable. I mean, I didn't give a fuck about them. It was, typical, cheap jokes, and geeky references to, either Star Wars or Star Trek or whatever, or sci-fi films, sci-fi shows. And there's a lot of cameos in the movie. You got Carrie Fisher as a doctor, but Billy D. Williams as a Judge Reinhold, which whatever. William Shatner, uh, Danny McBride, Seth Rogen plays two different roles. He plays like a Star Trek geek they make fun of, and I'll get to that, by the way. And there's like redneck pimp who's a big Star Wars fan, and there's that one scene where Seth Rogen as the redneck pimp Star Wars fan. He has like a bunch of tattoos, and he has one in his back, and he has a tattoo of Jar Jar Binks, and he says Jar Jar Binks, and because it takes place before Episode 1 comes out, so no one really knows about that much about Jar Jar Binks yet. But he's like, oh, I have Jar Jar Binks. He's gonna be the shit, which is an easy joke to do. You know what I mean? If I made a movie about that takes place before Crystal Pepsi comes out, and I have a character say, Crystal Pepsi is gonna be a huge hit. It's gonna be the next big thing. Obviously it's not. So I don't really care for jokes like that in a way. Anyway, but there's there's a couple of subplots. Jay Baruchel's character, he has like an online girlfriend who he meets up with, and it happens to be a 10-year-old girl who also happens to be the niece of online blogger Harry Knowles. Not the real Harry Knowles, played by Ethan's. I hope I pronounce his last name Supley, like the fat guy from My Name's Earl. You've seen him in Kevin Smith movies, and Kevin Smith even makes a cameo in this movie, and Jason Mewes. So weird, just random cameo at a gas station, and it's pretty much like I didn't give a fuck about this movie, to be honest. Like I said, it wasn't fun. I didn't think it was funny. I didn't care about the characters. There's, I didn't care for their pretty much their goal. I mean, yeah, he has cancer, and that's sad, but I didn't care for his character. And I went to mention about the Star Trek thing. Yeah, like there's this scene where the guy's like, oh, there's a Star Trek convention. Well, let's go over there and like talk shit. And then they go, and Seth Rogen playing the Star Trek geek. Typical, nerdy with funny teeth. Like, this is the statue of Khan and Spock, or some shit like that. And then these guys, these Star Wars fans, they're like fanboys, should I say? They're just talking shit like, oh, like, you know, Captain Picard is gay and shit like that. And granted, I don't care for the character of Picard, but when Seth Rogen's character says, "Well, Han Solo's a bitch," and then they get all offended, like, "You call Han Solo a bitch?" And I'm just like, you guys started talking shit first, and it's called fair game. If I talk, I randomly talk shit about a character in a franchise I don't like, and they call and that person says shit about a character in a franchise I like, it's fair game. You guys fucking started it, But shit like that, like, that makes the fucking characters unlikable as hell. That's pretty much they end up in Skywalker Ranch, and they find the print of episode 1, but then they get caught, and you get cameo by Ray Park, who played Darth Maul in episode 1, and there's like a chase scene, and they get they don't escape, and that's where you get the Danny McBride cameo. And he gets a call from George Lucas, and he says, he won't drop, Mr. Lucas won't, he's gonna drop the charges against you guys, but he'll let Chris Marquette, who has cancer, he let him watch the episode 1, and they're free to go. They make that deal, and he watches it, and I guess his reaction is ambiguous, and then months pass, and he pretty much is dead, and the rest of the characters watch episode 1 in theaters when it comes out. And hold on, before I pretty much end the review, I wanted to make sure I get all the actors in this movie. You got Sam Huntington, who is pretty much the only one, the one friend in the group who's not into Star Wars as much as the other guys. He pretty much he has he has a job as a salesman in his father's company, and there's like a subplot that goes through the movie where he has to get back to his job before the weekend's over, because his dad's gonna give him the company, and he pretty much by the third act the whole subplot just dropped and never mentioned again. So great writing. And then Jay Baruchel, who's like the geekiest one of them all, he ends up hooking up with Kristen Bell, who is more like them. She's into the Star Wars nerdy stuff, and they hook up with Kristen Bell, and she helps them get out of jail because they end up in jail with one scene. Chris Marquette is the one who has cancer. Who am I forgetting? Oh yeah, fucking Dan Fogler, whatever the fuck his name is. Yeah, he's like the fat guy of the group, and yeah, he wasn't funny. I never found that guy funny anyway. But pretty much that's it. That's the main characters of the movie. But by the end, months passed, and Chris Marquette has passed away. He got to see episode 1, and the rest of the of the characters they're getting to see episode one. You know, when it's coming out in a packed audience. You know, the movie's about to start, and at the end, Sam Huntington tells the rest of the characters, "Hey, what if the movie sucks?" And that's it. That's the end of the movie. So, um, uh, I didn't like it. I didn't think it was funny. Um, the Star Wars discussions they had was pretty much everything you've heard before. Nothing really new. I mean, it's discussions you get to hear all the time. Like, oh, with the whole Luke Leia kiss, and uh, is Boba Fett a great character or not? Blah blah blah. They don't really get into in depth that much. When they go in those discussions, but it just they reference that shit and the Star Trek stuff. But I mean, I've seen better movies or better discussions about Star Wars and other stuff that's done better. Like in Clerks, they talked about the the possibility of innocent plumbers and contract workers who died in the Death Star and Return of the Jedi. The whole discussion about and Jason Amy about where they is Star Wars racist against black people. All the stuff they do in Robot Chicken and shit like that. They do it better in those stuff than they did in Fanboys. So I don't know. I have really nothing else to say, and I didn't like the movie. It's not the worst comedy I've ever seen, but it's not one I'm not gonna remember. Saw it, didn't like it, gonna move on, and so it's not much of a rant because it wasn't, like I said, it wasn't the worst thing ever, but I just didn't give a shit about this movie. So that's it, and tune in next time for another review. And I will wrap up on the Planet of the Apes franchise. I'm gonna review Tim Burton's film and the reboot and the new one coming up. So and other films they're coming out on DVD and Blu-ray. The Raid 2, Bad Words, and I'm gonna review the movie Slither, directed by James Gunn, who is directing the new Guardians of the Galaxy movie. And so stay tuned. And those are my thoughts. I didn't like Fanboys, and if you liked it, it's fine. That's it. Adios.